Beneath Adabraka Bridge, under the scorching midday sun, a frail girl kneels beside a wall, stained with black spray paint. In her hand, the last rusty paint can. Beside her, an old dog lies silently guarding the last breath of a fading memory. But she doesn't cry. She scrubs. She paints. And each brushstroke pulls a broken community back from ruin. Subscribe now to follow more powerful and emotional storytelling films from us. Before she became a symbol of hope, she was just a daughter cast out into the night. Rain, not just rain, a flood. Thick, relentless, hammering the battered streets of Accra like a furious tide. Night smothers the city in black. Streetlights flicker. Somewhere in the distance, horns wail through the storm, urgent, unanswered. Above it all stands the Adabraka Bridge, a forgotten arch of concrete and steel. Once, a proud span of engineering. Now, a decaying skeleton rib streaked with moss veins of rust twisting through its beams. Underneath, hidden from the world, a lone figure crouches. Adjoa, early 20s. Clothes soaked through hair matted to her face, body trembling from cold, and something deeper, something raw. She hugs a battered paint can against her chest, knuckles white from the grip. The label long worn away. All that remains is rust-smudged colors of life long past. Water pools around her bare feet. She doesn't seem to notice. Her breath comes fast, uneven. Her eyes, those wide, unblinking eyes, are locked on the underside of the bridge. A vast, blank wall of concrete. Unforgiving, unmoved. Waiting. Thunder cracks overhead. Lightning lashes the sky briefly, illuminating her face. Tear-streaked, bruised, determined, her lips part, whispering something too soft to hear. Perhaps a prayer. Perhaps a curse. She shifts. A sharp gasp escapes her as pain shoots through her ribs. No matter. No one will hear her here. No one will come. For a moment she simply sits, rain beating against her skin, breath misting in the cold air. Then slowly, deliberately, she reaches for the battered canvas bag at her side. Fingers numb, she pulls out its contents. A strip of cloth-bound twigs, her brush. A stub of charcoal. A crumpled photograph, faded, almost unrecognizable. She pauses, gaze lingering on the photo. Then she tucks it back inside. One final item, a thin, folded sheet of drawing paper, soaked beyond repair. Her throat tightens. A single tear escapes, lost amidst the rain. She sets the brush down, grasps the paint can, pries it open with trembling fingers. Thick, viscous color stares back at her deep crimson muddied by time. She exhales, dips the brush inside, hesitates. A breath. 2, 3. Her gaze lifts to the concrete wall. Then, a stroke. A single line, rough and jagged, bleeding down the wet surface. Another. A shape begins to form, uncertain, trembling like her hands. A wing. She paints faster now. The rain pounds harder, but her strokes grow surer. Lines curve and coil, flames, feathers of form rising from shadow. The thunder fades to background noise. The storm outside her mind silences. All that exists is this wall, this moment, this act of defiance. But her mind isn't empty. Flash! Memory crashes through her sharp, sudden. A sunlit room. Walls lined with medical books. The smell of ink and old leather. Young Adjoa seated cross-legged on the floor, sketchbook open, pencil dancing across the page. A phoenix bold alive, wings spread wide. A voice cold cutting again. She looks up. Dr. Mensah, her father, tall, stern eyes blazing. I told you no more of this foolishness. He strides forward, grabs the sketchbook, rips it apart. You will be a Dr. Adjoa, not this disgrace. Tears well in her eyes. Please, Baba, this is who I am. White-hot pain explodes across her cheek. Her mother watches from the doorway, silent, powerless. Rain, concrete, paint. Adjoa gasps, breath catching in her throat. Her brush falters. She shakes her head, forces herself forward. Another stroke, another curve. The phoenix takes shape, half-formed, rising from the wall, like a whispered promise. A suitcase, a doorway. Adjoa stands beneath the frame, bag in hand, heart hammering. Her father's voice behind her. Walk through that door, and you are no longer my daughter. Her mother reaches out, stops, fist clenched at her side. Adjoa steps into the rain. The door slams shut. back beneath the bridge. Adjoa's breath is ragged now, chest heaving. Her brush split snaps beneath her grip. She stares at the broken twigs, tears threatening once more. No, not now. Fingers dip into the paint, bare trembling. She smears crimson across the wall, bold desperate. Feathers spread. Flames swirl. The phoenix soars higher. Another memory surges. A classroom. Medical diagrams. A white coat too large for her small frame. Eyes blank. Spirit crushed. She stares at the textbook, unable to see the words. Only lines, colors, shapes trapped inside her mind. You are wasting your potential. You will be nothing without medicine. Art is not survival. But this is survival. Back in the present, her arms ache, her body shudders, but the wall sings beneath her fingers. The phoenix blazes unfinished, imperfect, but alive. She slumps against the pillar, chest rising and falling. Her gaze lifts to the mural, tears streaming freely now. Softly, brokenly, she speaks. I will not be broken. Thunder rolls a deep, resonant drum. She looks to the paint can, empty, its last drop spent. She reaches for the brush, pieces scattered. No matter. She smiles, a flicker of something fierce and new. Rain pours down. Around her, the world remains indifferent. But on this wall, beneath this forgotten bridge, a phoenix rises. A symbol, a vow, a beginning. Voice low, resonant, cuts through the storm. When a dream is shattered, when the world closes its doors, what do you paint from the ashes? The sun had barely dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the modest home nestled in a quiet Accra neighborhood. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Adjoa sat cross-legged on the floor of her bedroom, surrounded by sketches and paints. Her fingers moved deftly, bringing to life a phoenix rising from ashes on a canvas. The vibrant colors contrasted starkly with the dimly lit room, a sanctuary of creativity, amidst looming confrontation. A knock at the door shattered her focus. "Adjoa!" her father's voice called sternly. She hesitated, placing her brush down, and opened the door to find Dr. Mensah, her father standing tall and imposing. "Your mother tells me you've been neglecting your medical studies," he began, eyes narrowing as they fell upon the artwork behind her. "It's just a painting, Baba," Adjoa replied softly. "Just a painting," he echoed, stepping into the room. "You were meant to be reviewing anatomy, not indulging in childish fantasies." Adjoa's heart pounded. "Art is my passion. It's who I am." Dr. Mensah's face hardened. "Passion doesn't pay the bills. Medicine is your future. I've worked too hard to see you throw it all away." "I can't live a life that isn't mine," she whispered. Silence hung heavy before he spoke, voice cold and final. "Then you have no place in this house." Tears welled in Adjoa's eyes as she packed a small bag. Her mother, Mam, stood by, eyes glistening with sorrow. "Please, Kwaku," she pleaded. "She's our daughter." But Dr. Mensah remained unmoved. As the door closed behind her, Adjoa stepped into the night, the weight of rejection pressing down on her. The streets of Accra were unfamiliar and unwelcoming. She wandered aimlessly, the city's vibrant life continuing around her, indifferent to her plight. By dawn, exhaustion took hold. She found a secluded spot in a park, curling up on a bench. The morning sun filtered through the trees, offering little warmth. A soft whimper caught her attention. A small, scruffy dog stood nearby, eyes wide and cautious. "Go away," she murmured, turning her back. But the dog didn't leave. It approached slowly, tail wagging tentatively. Adjoa sighed, extending a hand. The dog nuzzled into her palm, seeking comfort. "All right," she whispered. "You can stay." She named him Kofi. Together they navigated the city's challenges. Days were spent searching for food, nights finding shelter. Eventually, they discovered the space beneath the Adabraka Bridge, a haven amidst chaos. Adjoa set up a makeshift home, using discarded materials for bedding. The concrete walls offered a blank canvas, reigniting her artistic spirit. With Kofi by her side, she began to paint again, each stroke a testament to resilience and hope. The morning sun filtered through the gaps in the bridge above, casting fragmented light onto the damp ground below. Adjoa stirred from her makeshift bed, the coarse fabric of her blanket clinging to her skin. Beside her, Kofi, the scruffy stray dog who had become her companion, stretched and yawned, his tail wagging gently. The city of Accra buzzed with life beyond the confines of their shelter. The distant hum of traffic, the chatter of vendors, and the occasional honk of a horn painted a backdrop of normalcy that felt worlds away from Adjoa's current reality. Determined to find materials for her art, Adjoa ventured out, weaving through the bustling streets. Her eyes scanned the surroundings, searching for anything that could serve as a canvas or paint. She recalled a construction site she had passed days earlier, now abandoned and overgrown. Reaching the site, she carefully stepped over debris and rusted metal. Amidst the rubble, a glint caught her eye, a discarded paint can, its label faded and edges corroded. She picked it up, shaking it gently. The faint slosh inside brought a smile to her face. Returning to the bridge, Adjoa examined the concrete wall beside her sleeping area. The surface was rough with patches of peeling paint and graffiti. To her, it was a blank canvas, waiting to be transformed. She dipped a makeshift brush, a bundle of twigs bound together, into the paint can. Her hand trembled as she brought it to the wall, hesitating for a moment before making the first stroke. The paint was thick and uneven, but it clung to the surface, leaving a mark. Kofi watched intently, his head tilted. Adjoa continued each stroke more confident than the last. Shapes began to emerge: a rising sun, a blooming flower, a bird in flight. The mural took form, a reflection of hope amidst despair. As the day wore on, passers-by slowed to observe the artwork. Some nodded in appreciation, others paused to watch. Adjoa paid them little mind, lost in her creation. By evening, the mural was complete. Adjoa stepped back, wiping sweat from her brow. Kofi barked softly as if in approval. She smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment she hadn't experienced in weeks. That night, as they settled beneath the bridge, Adjoa gazed at her mural. It wasn't just art, it was a statement, a testament to resilience and the power of creativity. Kofi curled up beside her, his warmth a comfort against the cool night air. Adjoa closed her eyes, dreams of color and possibility filling her mind. In the days that followed, the mural became a beacon. More people stopped to admire it, some leaving small offerings, food, water, even art supplies. Adjoa continued to paint each new piece, adding to the tapestry of hope beneath the bridge. Through her art, she found purpose. Through Kofi, she found companionship. And beneath the Adabraka Bridge, amidst the noise and chaos of the city, Adjoa found a home. Morning broke through in thin silvery shafts beneath the Adabraka Bridge. The air was cool and damp, filled with the faint scent of wet concrete and city dust. Adjoa stirred beneath her blanket of old fabric scraps. Nearby, Kofi stretched out paws, twitching in sleep. She sat up slowly, bones stiff from the cold night, and gazed at the mural before her. The phoenix, fierce and rising, stretched across the wall, still raw, still incomplete, but alive in its struggle to ascend. Adjoa's fingers brushed dry paint chips on her lap. There was work to be done today, new shapes to breathe into the concrete skin of this old bridge. She stood, brushed herself off, and reached for her tools. A few worn brushes, scraps of cloth, and the rusty paint can, nearly dry, but still precious. Kofi's eyes opened soft and trusting. His tail gave a gentle thump against the cardboard floor. "Morning," she whispered, ruffling his ears. Then she began. Stroke by stroke, color by color, the walls spoke through her. Each motion was a release of pain, of memory, of longing. As the day brightened, the flow of life above resumed. Footsteps echoed across the bridge deck, tires hissed through puddles. It began with curious glances. A boy, maybe 10, stopped near the stairs and peered down, watching in silence. His eyes widened at the brilliant hues unfolding on the wall, deep reds, sunburst oranges, piercing blues. Moments later, a pair of young women, backpacks slung over their shoulders, paused at the railing above. One leaned over, phone in hand, snapping a photo. A click, another. Laughter drifted down. One of them called out, voice bright, "It's beautiful." Adjoa glanced up, startled, but warmed. She nodded, a faint smile pulling at the corner of her mouth. Word was spreading. By late morning, more began to gather. Some came out of curiosity, drawn by the rumors of a mural beneath the old bridge. Others stumbled upon it by chance, their hurried commutes slowed to reverent steps. Phones rose like a forest of small trees, capturing the light and color that danced across the battered wall. Adjoa lost herself in the work, but snippets of conversation floated past. "This is under the Adabraka Bridge, check it out." Look at the detail. Who painted this? I heard it's a young artist living here. And still the phoenix soared higher, its wings now crowned with gleaming edges of silver and gold. In the midst of this quiet reverie, an old woman approached. Her presence was soft, but certain, each step deliberate. She wore a faded blue headscarf, a long kente skirt wrapped around thin legs, and carried a basket bursting with fresh hibiscus flowers. Adjoa noticed her from the corner of her eye, but continued painting. When the woman stopped beside her, there was no awkwardness, only a shared space beneath the mural. Finally, Adjoa set her brush down, hands streaked with crimson and ochre. The old woman spoke first. "Child." Her voice was low-edged with a melodic calm. Adjoa turned fully now. "Yes, ma'am." The woman gazed at the mural, eyes glistening. "Your painting. It brings back someone I loved very much." She lifted a trembling hand toward the phoenix. "My husband was a painter. He always believed that colors could heal the wounds life gave us." Adjoa swallowed a lump rising in her throat. "I'm honored," she managed. "I never thought it could mean something to someone else." The old woman smiled gently, placing a hibiscus at the base of the mural. "Keep painting, child. The world has too much pain. We need more of this." Adjoa blinked back tears. "Thank you." The woman gave a nod and shuffled away, her basket swaying at her side. Kofi, watching quietly from his corner, let out a soft chuff, almost as if he understood. As afternoon stretched toward evening, Adjoa noticed something was wrong. Kofi was listless, his usual energy faded. She crouched beside him. "Kofi, what's wrong?" He barely lifted his head. His nose was dry, his eyes dull. Panic shot through her. She touched his side. He shivered beneath her fingers. "No. Not now," she whispered. "Please." Thoughts raced. She had no money, no vet nearby. But waiting meant risking his life. Decision made, she darted to her small stash of sketches and mini paintings, pieces she'd kept hidden, too attached to sell before. Now attachment meant nothing. She gathered them in trembling hands and ran up the steps to the bridge. On the sidewalk above, traffic hummed. Commuters moved past, phones in hand, eyes distracted. Adjoa laid the artworks on an old cloth and raised her voice raw with urgency. "Art for sale. Please help me save my dog." A few people slowed, uncertain. A young man approached first, brows furrowed. "What happened?" "My dog, he's sick. I need a vet, please." He looked down at the paintings, bright bursts of life images of wings, faces, flowers. Without a word, he took one and handed her a bill. "Good luck." Others followed. A woman bought 2 sketches. A child tugged at her mother's sleeve until she purchased a small piece of sunflowers. Hope surged. Adjoa gathered the notes, clutching them tightly, eyes burning with gratitude. Moments later, she sprinted down the street, Kofi cradled in her arms. At the clinic, time, blurred voices. Antiseptic, the sharp smell of alcohol. The vet examined Kofi, his hands steady, words gentle. "Fever, likely an infection. We'll give him fluids and medication." Relief crashed over her, leaving her shaking. She sat on the cold tile floor, arms wrapped around her knees, as the IV dripped life back into her friend. Hours passed. The clinic grew quiet. Finally, the vet returned. "He'll be okay. He needs rest." "You did well bringing him here." Tears fell freely now. "Thank you. Thank you." Back beneath the bridge that night, Adjoa laid Kofi gently on their makeshift bed. His breathing was easier, his eyes brighter if still tired. She stroked his head softly. "We did it, Kofi. We made it." He wagged his tail faintly, a small victory in the darkness. Above them, the mural glowed under the moonlight, its colors deeper, now richer somehow. Adjoa leaned back against the wall, exhaustion pulling at her limbs. But in her heart, something stronger pulsed. The wall had healed others. Today, it had helped heal the one soul she couldn't live without. She closed her eyes, Kofi's warmth at her side, and whispered into the night, "We're not done. There's still so much more to paint." And beneath the Adabraka Bridge, the healing wall breathed on its colors, alive, in the hearts of all who passed. The sun rose slowly that morning over Accra, streaking the clouds with hues of burnt orange and pale gold. The city was waking, but beneath the Adabraka Bridge, Adjoa had already been awake for hours. Kofi lay curled beside her chest, rising and falling in steady rhythm. He was better now. The worst had passed, and as she watched him sleep, relief mingled with exhaustion. The mural towered above her, glowing faintly in the dawn light, the phoenix now complete wings spread across the concrete canvas. But Adjoa's heart was uneasy. There had been rumors, whispers overheard from pedestrians, snatches of conversation from the market vendors above. A new road, a redevelopment project, and with it demolition. She shook her head. No, it couldn't be. This bridge wasn't just shelter. It wasn't just a slab of concrete. It was home. It was her studio. It was the only place where her voice through color could live. Later that morning, the whispers became words. A man in a crisp suit stopped near the mural phone to his ear. His voice was sharp. Yes, they want to start demolition next month. The bridge is too old. They'll clear it for the new bypass. Adjoa froze. Her breath caught. The words echoed in her skull. Demolition. Clear it. Next month. She staggered backward, eyes wide, paint-stained fingers trembling. No, she whispered. Not my wall, not this place, not now. The news spread like wildfire. That afternoon, she sat beneath the bridge with Kofi numb, while people passed above phones, buzzing with headlines. City Council announces redevelopment plan. Adabraka Bridge to be removed for new bypass. Historic bridges days numbered. Construction to begin next month. Adjoa felt like the ground had opened beneath her. Kofi sensed it, his soft whimper pressing against her side. Tears welled, her fists clenched. How could they? This place had become a sanctuary, not just for her, but for others. People came here now, not for the bridge, but for what it represented. For the mural, for hope, for healing. The next morning, Adjoa was a storm of motion. She gathered her brushes, her worn claws, what little paint she had left. Kofi trotted after her, tail wagging, seemingly stronger with each step. She stared at the wall, heart pounding. If they were going to tear it down, she would leave them something they could never erase. A new mural, the biggest yet. Her mind's eye saw it clearly. A woman, strong, determined, her arms wrapped around the bridge itself, holding it as if to protect it from the wrecking ball. It was a defiant image, a cry of love and resistance. She began at sunrise. The first lines were hesitant, her arms shaking. But soon, bold, deliberate strokes formed the curve of shoulders, the sweep of hair, the fierce arch of arms, embracing the weathered stone and steel of the bridge. The woman's eyes would gaze outward, not pleading but daring. Daring anyone to destroy what had become a sacred place. Word spread fast. People gathered again. Some filmed her in silence. Others whispered, "She's painting a guardian. She won't let them take this away." Among them, the elderly flower seller returned. She set down her basket and stood watching. When Adjoa paused to wipe sweat from her brow, the woman approached. "You fight with your colors, child," she said softly. "And sometimes, that is the strongest fight of all." Adjoa met her gaze, determination blazing through the exhaustion. "I won't let them erase this," she said. "I won't." By midday, the mural had begun to take form in full. The woman's figure loomed, large arms outstretched as if embracing the entire structure. The colors were bold, deep reds, fierce blues, storm gray shadows along the bridge's spine. As the day wore on, news crews arrived. Cameras pointed. Reporters spoke breathlessly. Behind me, you can see a local artist making a final stand against the city's plans to demolish the Adabraka Bridge. Adjoa barely heard them. Her world had narrowed to the paint and the wall. Kofi sat nearby, tail wagging, occasionally barking, as if to cheer her on. Each stroke was a battle cry, each curve of color a vow. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows, the final details came alive. The woman's face serene, strong eyes blazing with resolve. Her arms wrapped tightly around a stylized depiction of the bridge itself, heart at the center. When Adjoa stepped back, brush falling from her fingers, a hush fell over the gathering crowd. The mural stood complete. A powerful message, a defiant love letter. Adjoa sank to her knees beside Kofi, breathless tears streaking her cheeks. Above her, the wall blazed with life, as if daring the world to tear it down. And for the first time in days, Adjoa felt something stronger than fear. She felt hope. The morning light was harsh, too bright for the kind of day it was. Adjoa stood beneath the Adabraka Bridge, shoulders hunched beneath her worn jacket. Above her, cars roared across the span, indifferent to the turmoil building below. Her mural was finished. The woman with outstretched arms holding the bridge close burned with fierce color against the gray wall. But Adjoa felt no triumph this morning, only dread. The city's announcement had hit the papers with brutal clarity. Adabraka Bridge to be demolished next month for bypass construction. Safety concerns drive redevelopment, city says. Historic structures slated for removal. She had stared at the headlines in disbelief. Words seemed to blur on the page. Around her, passers-by whispered. Some paused to look at the mural, sympathy in their eyes. Others shook their heads helpless. But the news had spread, far and wide, and something unexpected was happening. People were beginning to care. It started small. An old man who sold fruit from a cart stopped by that morning, placing a small bouquet at the base of the mural. "I used to sit here with my wife," he murmured to Adjoa. "Your painting, it brings her back to me. We need this place." Then came the woman who ran the corner coffee stand. She brought Adjoa a cup steaming in the cold air. "You gave us this wall," she said simply. "We won't let them take it." Word rippled through the community. A market vendor posted a photo of the mural on social media with the caption, "Our bridge, our healer." The hashtag caught fire. Within hours, posts were spreading photos of the mural, clips of Adjoa painting stories of how the wall had brought comfort, connection, meaning. And the press noticed. Late that afternoon, a young journalist arrived. He couldn't have been more than 25. His name was Kwame, a reporter for one of Accra's popular online news outlets. He approached Adjoa cautiously, camera slung over one shoulder, notebook in hand. "Miss Adjoa, yes." She looked up wary. "I'm with The Voice. I've been following the story. Would you talk with me?" Adjoa hesitated. Cameras had always made her nervous, but Kwame's gaze was steady, earnest. "Please," he added. "People need to hear your side." A long beat. Then she nodded. Kwame set up his small camera, carefully checking the light. Around them, a small crowd had gathered. Vendors, students, workers from the area. The bridge hummed with quiet tension. He began. "Adjoa," he said softly. "Can you tell us why you paint here, what this wall means to you?" The camera blinked red, recording. Adjoa drew a breath. Her fingers curled into her sleeves. "I came here because I had nowhere else." She began, voice low but clear. "I was cast out by my own family for choosing this path, for choosing art." And she glanced at the mural, then back to the lens. "This wall became my home. But more than that, it became my voice. A place to speak when no one would listen." Her voice trembled, but she pressed on. "I paint because this bridge holds the stories of so many. People pass beneath it, carrying grief, hope, love, loss. They leave a piece of themselves here." She paused, breath catching, "and now they want to tear it down." Around her, the crowd had fallen utterly silent. Kwame asked softly, "What would you say to the people making that decision?" Adjoa's gaze sharpened. "I would say, look at these faces. Look at this wall. It's not just concrete. It's memory. It's healing. You can build your road, but not at the cost of our hearts." A murmur of approval rippled through the watchers. Kwame clicked off the camera, eyes shining. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I'll make sure they hear this." He packed up and hurried off, already typing furiously on his phone. By evening, his interview was online. It's not just concrete. It's healing. The artist behind the Adabraka Bridge mural speaks out. Within hours, it went viral. News outlets picked it up. Television anchors showed clips of Adjoa's words. Photos of the mural flashed across screens. And in almost every shot there was Kofi. The dog had become a fixture beneath the bridge, always curled beside Adjoa, always present. Reporters loved the image, the healing wall, and her faithful guardian. One photo in particular caught fire, Adjoa sitting cross-legged beneath the mural brush, in one hand, Kofi's head resting in her lap. It spread across Instagram, Twitter, even international blogs. Save the bridge, save the art, save their home. By the next morning, journalists were arriving in waves. Interviews, photo shoots, more hashtags. The story had taken on a life of its own. And beneath the bridge, Adjoa sat with Kofi pressed close to her side. She should have felt hope, but her heart was a knot of fear and resolve, because the city had not yet backed down. The deadline still loomed. The demolition still waited. She looked at the mural, now famous, looked at the people gathering, and whispered to Kofi, "We fight now." The wall would stand, or she would. The community center buzzed with tension as residents gathered for the town hall meeting. The air was thick with anticipation, the walls adorned with photographs of the Adabraka Bridge mural, now a symbol of unity and healing. Adjoa sat near the front, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, Kofi resting at her feet. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. A city official took the podium, his expression stern. "City official, we appreciate your concerns, but the bridge is structurally unsound. The mural, while expressive, is unauthorized graffiti." A murmur of discontent rippled through the crowd. An elderly woman stood up, her voice firm. "Elderly woman, that graffiti gave me hope after my husband's passing. It's more than paint on a wall." Others chimed in, voices rising in solidarity. "Young man, it's art. It's our story. Mother, my children smile every time they see it." The official raised his hands, attempting to calm the crowd. "City official, I understand it's meaningful to you, but we must prioritize public safety." Adjoa stood, her voice clear and unwavering. "Adjoa, this wall saved me. It gave me purpose when I had none. It's not just my story, it's all of ours." Applause erupted the room, united in their defense of the mural. That night, Adjoa returned to the bridge, exhaustion and hope intertwining within her. She sat beside Kofi, the mural illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights. But peace was fleeting. In the early hours, the sound of footsteps and the hiss of spray paint shattered the silence. Adjoa awoke to find a group of masked individuals defacing the mural, black paint obscuring the vibrant colors. She screamed a raw, anguished sound that echoed beneath the bridge. "Adjoa, no, stop!" The vandals fled into the night, leaving destruction in their wake. Adjoa collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she reached out to the defaced wall. "Adjoa, why, this was our sanctuary." Kofi nuzzled her side, offering silent comfort as she mourned the desecration of their shared haven. The community awoke to the news, outrage and sorrow spreading like wildfire. But amidst the darkness, a renewed determination took root. They would not let this act of vandalism erase their story. Together, they would restore the mural stronger and more vibrant than before. The morning after the attack on the mural Adabraka Bridge was eerily quiet. Adjoa stood alone before the wall, her wall streaked with thick bands of oily black. The woman with outstretched arms, once so bold now, suffocated beneath the darkness. Her fingers tightened around a bucket of soapy water. Beside her, Kofi sat silent, ears low, sensing the storm inside her. For a long moment she couldn't move, just stared. Then, breath-sharp resolve burning, she dropped to her knees. She plunged the sponge into the water. Steam rose from its surface in the cold morning air. She wrung it out and began. Stroke, stroke, stroke. The sponge met the wall with harsh friction. The black paint clung stubbornly, but inch by inch it began to give way. Adjoa scrubbed harder shoulders, trembling with effort. Tears mixed with sweat on her face. Her hands burned. The ragged sob in her throat stayed trapped, caged behind clenched teeth. This is not how it ends. Somewhere above, footsteps slowed. A phone camera clicked. A woman's voice. "Look, it's her. She's cleaning it." The click became a video. A few seconds, maybe a minute, enough to capture the raw defiance in Adjoa's movements. By midday, the video was everywhere. She fights for the mural they tried to destroy. Adjoa and her healing wall, we stand with her. The tags multiplied. Support flooded in. Messages from strangers. Offers of help. Adjoa had no time to read them. She scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed. By afternoon, patches of the original colors had begun to shine through. The woman's arms re-emerged ghost-like beneath the smeared black. A small crowd gathered now. Some brought fresh rags. Others just watched, silent witnesses to her act of resistance. Kofi barked once short, sharp, as if in encouragement. Adjoa glanced at him, a weary smile breaking through her exhaustion. "We're not done," she whispered. 2 days later, an email arrived. She found it through a battered second-hand phone someone had lent her after the attack. Subject: invitation. African Artists Foundation, Lagos. She blinked, read it again. "Dear Adjoa, we have followed your story. Your courage and your art inspire us. We would like to offer you a full scholarship to our flagship program in Lagos. Please let us know if you would be willing to meet." The name at the bottom, Emeka Nwosu, Director of Programs. Her breath caught. She read it again, again. The words blurred. Kofi whined softly, sensing the shift in her mood. Adjoa hugged him tight. "They want me to go," she whispered, half to herself, half to him. "They want me to study." A meeting was arranged. A bright, lean son in his early 30s arrived beneath the bridge that Friday. Crisp linen shirt, warm smile. Emeka. He found Adjoa restoring the last traces of color to the mural. "You're even more remarkable in person," he said gently. She rose, brush in hand. I don't know what to say." "You've already said it. On this wall, in that video, in every stroke of your brush." He handed her a folder, papers, forms an official letter. "We want you to come to Lagos. We will cover everything. Tuition, housing, travel. You can paint without fear there. You can grow." Tears threatened again. She wiped them away roughly. "I'm not sure I can leave here." Emeka nodded. "I understand, but sometimes we must leave in order to return stronger." His words echoed long after he left. The decision tore at her. This bridge had been her prison once. Then her canvas. Now her home. Could she leave it? Could she leave Kofi? The choice was not hers alone. That night she sat beneath the mural. Kofi pressed close her fingers in his fur. "I have to go," she said softly. "They're giving me a chance. A real one. But I can't take you." His eyes met hers unwavering. "I'll come back, I promise." The community insisted on a farewell. The flower seller, her old friend, led the preparations. Beneath the bridge lights were strung. Food laid out. People came in waves. Friends, strangers, reporters, children who had grown up watching the mural evolve. And Kofi, Adjoa, knelt before the flower seller. "Please, take care of him. I can't bear leaving him alone." The old woman smiled, eyes kind. "He will stay with me until you return." Adjoa hugged Kofi fiercely, burying her face in his fur. He whined, licking her cheek. "Be good," she whispered. "Wait for me." When the time came, she stood before the crowd, voice shaking. "I came here broken, alone. You gave me a family, a purpose. I will carry this wall with me always. And I will come back, I promise, stronger." Applause, cheers, tears, and then the final moment. Boarding the bus to Lagos, she turned at the door, searching the crowd. There Kofi beside the flower seller, watching. She raised a hand. He barked once, sharp and clear. A promise, a bond. As the bus pulled away, Adjoa pressed her palm to the window. "I'll be back," she whispered. And with the city fading behind her, hope rose in her chest like the phoenix on her wall. Fierce, unbroken, ready to soar. The plane wheels screeched against the tarmac, jolting Adjoa awake. The voice overhead chimed in cheerful, indifferent English. "Welcome to Lagos. Local time is 10:24 a.m. Through the small oval window, Lagos sprawled beneath a haze of late morning heat. She gripped her backpack, fingers white around the straps. Somewhere in there was her sketchbook, a battered lifeline across countries. She was here, but already her heart ached. Arrival. The terminal was a blur of noise and motion. Bodies swirled past her in waves. Porters shouting. Families reuniting. Businessmen striding with wheeled luggage. Adjoa moved through them numb. Her feet seemed to glide on automatic, her mind tethered somewhere far behind. The bridge, the wall, Kofi. Her fingers touched the pocket of her jacket, where a folded photo of Kofi rested, a hasty snapshot taken the night before she left. The old flower seller had insisted. "So you remember even when your eyes forget," the woman had said. Now the photo burned against her heart. "I will come back," she told herself again. "I must." Her first days at the foundation were a blur. A sleek, modern building. Bright studios flooded with natural light. Canvases stretched against the walls, the scent of oil paint, turpentine, and possibility. But it all felt distant. Adjoa sat at her assigned desk, sketchbook open before her. Lines refused to take shape. Colors dulled beneath her fingers. At night she lay awake in the small dormitory room, staring at the ceiling. Images of the bridge drifted across her mind, the worn concrete, the smell of rain on stone, the quiet hum of the city beneath the arches. And Kofi. His gaze, his warm weight pressed against her side, his bark echoing through the underpass. She would close her eyes and whisper his name into the dark, as if he might somehow hear her across the miles. The turning point. A week in, her instructor called her aside. "Mr. Tunde," a tall man with kind eyes and hands stained with paint. "I've seen your work," he said gently. "Your wall, your story, you carry it in every line." Adjoa lowered her gaze. "I can't seem to paint anymore." Tunde tilted his head. "You're holding your breath, child. You can't create from emptiness. You must let yourself feel it." He placed a canvas before her. A clean, unforgiving white. "Start again, but this time paint not what you think you should paint. Paint what aches to be seen." Adjoa stared at the blank space, and something broke loose inside her. The brush trembled in her grip. The first stroke came in a rush, a sweep of deep indigo, then crimson, then pale gold. A figure took shape beneath her hand, a bridge stretching into endless sky. A small figure beneath it, arms outstretched. A dog at her side. Tears blurred her vision, but she did not stop. By the time the class ended, the canvas pulsed with raw, aching life. Tunde smiled softly. "There, now you're breathing again." The mural. Weeks passed. The foundation partnered with a local psychological institute, a stark concrete building with long echoing corridors and weary faces pressed to barred windows. They invited the students to propose mural designs for the central courtyard. Adjoa knew instantly what she wanted to paint. Her proposal was simple: a wall of healing. The director, a thin, soft-spoken man named Dr. Okoro, approved it at once. The wall was vast, faded beige, peeling in places. Adjoa stood before it, hands trembling with both excitement and fear. She began at dawn. First a wash of pale blues and greens, the colors of calm and water. Then shapes emerged. Bridges arching over rivers, open hands reaching skyward, wings unfurling in slow motion. For hours she worked alone, the world shrinking to the sweep of her brush. One morning, a woman in a faded hospital gown wandered into the courtyard. She stood watching silently as Adjoa painted. Then softly, "Is that a bridge?" Adjoa smiled. "Yes." The woman's voice cracked. "I used to walk on a bridge every day. Before this place." Adjoa set down her brush. "Would you like to help me paint?" The woman hesitated, then nodded. Together they added gentle waves beneath the arches. Word spread. More patients came curious. Some shy, some eager. One man brought her flowers made from folded paper. Another offered to mix her paints. The courtyard changed. Where once silence and resignation had lived, now there was laughter. Murmured conversation. Color blooming across worn stone. On the day the mural was completed, the courtyard filled with people. Patients, staff, visitors. The walls shimmered with life. Bridges soared beneath sunlit skies. Hands reached toward one another. Wings lifted from stone. A plaque was placed beneath the mural, painted by Adjoa Mensah in collaboration with the community of Lagos Psychological Institute. Dr. Okoro spoke softly at the small ceremony. "This wall was once blank. Now it breathes with hope. That is the power of art. And that is the gift Adjoa has given us." As applause rippled through the crowd, Adjoa stood back, tears streaming freely now. She looked up at the mural, and for the first time since leaving Accra, her heart felt light enough to rise. That night in her dorm room, she unfolded the photograph of Kofi. "I'm painting again," she whispered. "And I'll come home soon. I promise." The photo caught the light eyes, bright tongue-lolling tail, mid-wag. A promise hung between them across the miles, and in the quiet, Adjoa smiled. A new journey had begun, but her story was far from over. The plane banked low over Accra, the familiar coastline shimmering beneath the wing. Adjoa pressed her forehead against the window. Her breath fogged the glass. Home, a single word, but it filled every corner of her chest with an ache so sharp she thought it might break her in half. 2 years. 2 long years since she had left, since that farewell beneath the bridge, since the promise whispered to Kofi beneath the glow of the mural. She closed her eyes, the memory rising unbidden. "I will come back. I promise." The wheels hit the runway with a jolt that snapped her eyes open. The voice overhead spoke cool and detached. "Welcome to Accra. Local time is 4:15 p.m. Her heart pounded against her ribs. She was here. Customs, baggage, the blur of strangers' voices. Through it all, she moved as if underwater. Each step heavier than the last. Her bag was small clothes, A few sketches, the letter offering her the grant that would change everything. But its weight seemed immense in her hands. Outside the airport, the humid Ghanaian air wrapped around her like an old friend. Taxi drivers called out. Music throbbed from open car windows, but she barely heard it. Adabraka, she told the driver. You going to see the bridge? He asked with a grin. She nodded, unable to speak. The city rolled past in a kaleidoscope of color and sound, but her gaze stayed locked on the horizon. The car slowed. Here we are, the driver said softly. Adabraka Bridge stood ahead, bathed in late afternoon light, and beneath it, a crowd, dozens of people. Some she recognized even from a distance. The flower seller, the fruit vendor, a group of children she had once seen playing beneath the arches. And then, a low, familiar bark. Her breath caught. She pushed open the door, her legs trembling as she stepped out. Adjoa! The voices rose in a chorus, joyful and warm. But she saw only one thing. There beneath the bridge, aged and thinner but still proud, stood Kofi. His muzzle was silvered with age, his gait slower. But when he saw her, he barked again, the sound breaking across the square, and hobbled toward her, tail wagging furiously. Adjoa dropped to her knees, arms outstretched. Kofi! He reached her, pressing against her chest, licking her face, whining in short, desperate bursts. Tears poured down her cheeks. She buried her face in his fur. I came back, she whispered over and over. I kept my promise. Around them, the crowd watched in silence, many wiping their eyes. Later, they gathered beneath the bridge. A makeshift stage had been erected. A banner hung above it. Welcome home, Adjoa. And behind it, the mural, restored, glorious. The woman with outstretched arms, cradling the bridge. The phoenix rising beside her. New additions, too, added by the community symbols of hope messages scrawled in vibrant color. Tourists wandered through, snapping photos. Children played beneath the arches. It had become a place of pilgrimage. A testament not just to her story, but to the power of the people who had fought to preserve it. We never let them take it, the flower seller whispered, squeezing her hand. We fought. For you. For this. Adjoa could barely speak. She stood before the mural, Kofi pressed against her leg, and traced the lines of the wall with trembling fingers. You've grown, she whispered to the colors. You've all grown. That evening, beneath the bridge, the celebration continued. There were speeches, songs, laughter, and then a moment of quiet. A man approached, well-dressed, with a kind smile. I'm Samuel Osei, he said, from the Ghana Arts and Wellness Foundation. She blinked in surprise. We've followed your work in Lagos, and here. We'd like to support you to help you open something more permanent. Her breath caught. A center for art, for healing. He handed her a folder. We'll fund it, if you'll lead it. Adjoa stared at the paper's grant sponsorships, a location already secured. You want me to? Yes, he said simply. You showed us what's possible. Now we want to help others find the same. Tears welled again. I would be honored, she whispered. Weeks later, the center opened its doors. The Adabraka Center for Art and Healing, housed in a renovated building not far from the bridge. Its walls gleamed with fresh paint and hope. Inside, studios buzzed with life. Workshops for children. Therapy sessions for trauma survivors. Open studios for anyone who needed a place to create, to feel, to breathe. And at the heart of it all, Adjoa, guiding, teaching, painting. Kofi, now a beloved fixture of the center, rested beside her during every session. Children adored him. Adults found comfort in his quiet presence. And on the largest wall of the main studio, a new mural began to take shape. A continuation of the story that had started beneath a forgotten bridge. Bridges spanning continents. Hands joined across divides. A dog's paw pressed beside a human hand. A phoenix rising. One evening, as the sun set in molten gold across the city, Adjoa sat beneath the bridge once more. The mural glowed in the fading light. Kofi lay beside her head, resting on her foot. She stroked his fur gently. We did it, she whispered. We came back. We built something new. His tail thumped once, slow and steady. Above them, the city hummed with life. And beneath that old bridge, beneath arches, once dark with despair, hope burned brighter than ever. Their story, her story, would live on. And this time, it would never be erased. Exterior, Adabraka Community Art Center. Day. The courtyard buzzes with life. Children dart between easels, laughing, hands and faces smeared with vibrant colors. Elderly women sit in the shade, guiding tiny fingers across canvas, sharing stories as they paint. A breeze stirs cloth banners strung between columns, each banner painted with words of hope of healing. Create, connect, heal. The Adabraka Art and Healing Center is alive. Adjoa stands inside the main hall, sunlight slanting through wide windows. Her gaze sweeps across the room. It took months planning, building countless meetings, but today it is real. A place where anyone, young, old, broken, searching, can come to paint, to express, to find a piece of themselves. And at the heart of it all, community. Cut to into a main studio continuous. Children gather around a massive communal canvas. A boy of 7 traces swirling blue waves with shaky fingers. Beside him, an old man adds the outline of a bird taking flight. Adjoa moves between them, offering gentle guidance, words of encouragement. Nearby, a group of teens works on a mural that will soon cover one of the courtyard walls, a celebration of resilience, of rebirth. The sound of brushes against canvas, soft laughter. The occasional bark of a dog, Kofi now older, grayer, but still present. He lies beside Adjoa's usual seat head, on his paws, eyes tracking the room with lazy affection. He is part of this place, as much as the walls themselves. Cut to interior gallery hall later. The hall hums with anticipation. Visitors stream in, families, journalists, artists from across the city. At the far end, mounted on a pedestal of reclaimed wood, rests a small glass case. Inside, the final can of paint used to restore the bridge mural, rust flaking the rim. A single streak of blue frozen mid-drip down the side. A brass plaque beneath it reads, "The last paint can from despair, hope." Next to it, dominating the wall, a framed high-resolution print of the iconic mural, the woman embracing the bridge. Her arms outstretched, eyes closed in fierce serenity. To its left, a new addition. A candid photo taken during the mural's restoration, Adjoa sponge in hand, tears streaking her face. Kofi beside her. Visitors linger before the display, some taking photos, others standing in reverent silence. A little girl tugs at her mother's sleeve. "Is that her?" "The lady from the bridge," the mother smiles. "Yes, sweetheart. That's Miss Adjoa. And that's her dog, Kofi." Exterior center courtyard evening. A stage has been set beneath the open sky. Strings of soft lights crisscross above the crowd. Chairs fill the space, every seat occupied. At the front row, elders of the community, the flower seller, the fruit vendor, the teacher who first taught Adjoa to read. Near them, Kofi rests at Adjoa's feet, tail thumping softly against the wood. Adjoa steps to the podium. The crowd quiets. She breathes in slowly, deeply, then begins. 2 years ago, I left this place with nothing but a promise. Her gaze sweeps the crowd. A promise to return. A promise to give back what you gave me. A murmur of warmth, smiles, nods. This bridge, this wall, this community taught me that even from ruin, something beautiful can rise. She gestures to the gallery behind her, to the children's paintings hanging from every corner. If an old can of paint can illuminate lives, she says, voice steady, strong, then each of us holds the potential to bring light into the world. Silence, a heartbeat, then applause, rising, swelling. Adjoa steps back, hands trembling slightly. Kofi stirs, stands, presses his head against her knee. She smiles down at him. "We did it, old friend," she whispers. The camera pulls back, slow, deliberate. Through the courtyard, children race between easels. Teens paint by lantern light. Elders sip tea beneath hanging murals. And in the center of it all, Adjoa seated on the stage's edge, Kofi beside her, watching the life they helped create unfold. The shot widens beyond the center to the restored Adabraka Bridge, now a protected landmark. Tourists gather beneath it, snapping photos. Locals sit in its shade, reading Talking Living. Above it all, the mural gleams, the woman's arms, forever embracing the bridge that could not be broken. Art heals, community restores, love endures.